The whole world is focused on the World Cup at this point in time, and there are millions and millions of dollars going into these markets on Polymarket every single day. In this video, I'm going to go over how I plan to profit and my strategy on the knockout stages, right? So we are heading into the knockout matches. We have the bracket set for the entirety of the rest of the World Cup. So how are we planning to profit on this? There are people making tons of capital by trading the World Cup. I'll show you in this video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, drop down below, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. My name is Johnny. This is In the Money, and we go over everything you need to win in crypto, prediction markets, and more Monday through Friday on this channel. And of course, a big shout out to our sponsors down below in the description. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. I had posted this video here 2.5 weeks ago, how to profit on the World Cup using Polymarket. Now, y'all really enjoyed this video. The feedback, the views, the likes, and the comments, it feels like you guys really took advantage of the information that was shared there, which is awesome to see because the strategy actually worked out quite well. Looking at goal totals against, big teams versus some of the weaker teams, we saw some of these teams put up crazy amounts of goals from France to Norway had some high scoring games, Spain, Germany, etc. Some of these teams ended up going over those team totals and those goal totals. And then also, most importantly, we really profited on the nose. So there was no major upsets during the World Cup knockout or the rounds, the group stages, should I say. There were ties. There were not big upsets, not wins by the lesser side. We had some shocking draws from 𝗘𝗃𝗏𝗏. We had a couple of draws for some of these big clubs, but otherwise, they didn't win. So if you traded the no on those positions against the weaker team, you were hedging, and so many people lost money by just putting money on the, popular squad. England, when they drew, I believe it was against Ghana, I think it was. And then also especially Spain versus 𝗘𝗃𝗏𝗏. So going no on the underdogs was the best play possible for those group stages because there weren't big upsets, but there were big draws. So you were able to hedge that position. So we were able to come out in profit during the group stages, and that was really thanks to the info shared in this first video. Today is more so focused on the knockout stages. Let's look at the knockout bracket here. We can see we got a lot of action. I believe the World Cup now with 32 teams. So there's 16 games this round, 8 games next round. There's going to be 4 games, 2 games, and then 1 game. So we have about 25 to 30 matches left, more or less, just quick math off the top of my head. We can see here some of these results coming in, and you can see a lot of these have been tightly contested, highly defensive matches. So that's going to factor into our strategy. A lot of these teams now are going to try to park the bus if they are underdogs. Teams like Paraguay yesterday, teams like Morocco, the Netherlands really didn't do the majority of the attacking. And Morocco really just said, you're not going to beat us on your attack and we'll take you to penalties. And Morocco was able to win that game. So how are we planning to trade the knockouts? Let's just jump right into it. First and foremost, some of these matchups you see right now, Norway versus the Ivory Coast, or France versus Sweden, or, later tonight, we have Mexico versus Ecuador. And I'll actually show you some of my positions right now. So for today, I have under 3.5 goals on Norway versus Ivory Coast. Now, this is going to definitely play a factor for my first initial strategy is goal totals. And opposed to the group stages where a lot of these high class squads were scoring a ton of goals, you can actually come through here and let's go over to Norway versus the Ivory Coast. This is actually going on right now. And you can see here, I have $1,088. Really, it was about $900 in risk on under 3.5 goals. So to me, after watching all those games yesterday, the highest scoring being Brazil and Japan at 2-1, these teams are really, trying to park the bus, trying not to expose their back line, trying not to get beat, right? A lot of these teams are willing to play for that overtime, extra time period, and then also penalty shootouts, because if you get to penalties, truly anything can happen. So for me, and a lot of these tighter contested matchups, even though I think Norway's better than the Ivory Coast, they've been playing quite nicely throughout the tournament. So for me, I have under 3.5 goals. And of course, the standard line is 2.5. But I was able to get this at 74 cents. So a nice, 33% or so return on investment if this was to come through. Right now, this game is in the second half. Let's just check in. 63 minutes in the books, and this one is 1-0, and we would have to have sacrificed 4 goals for us to lose that position. So that's a big one for me. I'm going to be looking at the knockout bracket throughout the tournament and just kind of looking through these. I think France and Sweden might not be applicable for this one, but Portugal and Croatia, certainly I don't see a ton of goals there. When you look at stuff like Belgium and Senegal, I think that's going to be a pretty tightly contested defensive matchup. Mexico versus Ecuador, would be very surprised to see that one become a goal fest at the end of the day. Argentina, Cape Verde. Cape Verde's played very solid defense over the course of this tournament. So there are a lot of games that I'm going to be targeting goal totals, but the opposite way. I'm going to be going a lot of unders, whereas in the group stages, I was going over most of the time. And then also I'm taking advantage of no's again against these underdogs. So like today, you could have gotten Ivory Coast at 70% just not to win the match. That is a very, very good proposition. And also I got Norway not to win by more than 1.5, which means if Norway just wins by 1, I win that selection. It was a little bit better price. It was in the 60s as opposed to going against Ivory Coast directly. But this is definitely a type of a round where yesterday you could have gone no against Paraguay. You could have gone no against either Netherlands or Morocco. Really, most people would have gone against Morocco, even though Morocco did advance. And that was not a surprise to me, but I think to a lot of people. Today, you could go Ivory Coast no. I think that Sweden's a little too expensive today, for example, but just looking at some of these matches, like you could probably go Cape Verde, no. You could look at something like a Croatia, no. Austria, no. Bosnia, no, just depending on the, percentages. So that protects you if there's a draw or if the other team wins, you win that selection. So it is a perfect hedge. And also I'm taking advantage of spreads. So that is what we are on right now. Just Norway not to win by more than 1 goal. Also, later today, I have France to win. And then I have Mexico versus Ecuador under 2.5 goals. So this goes back to that first strategy. I just think a lot of these teams are going to be more physical. They're going to be really putting out their best defense while also trying to put an attack out there. You don't want to get compromised on that back end, especially with some of these tighter matched teams. So that is strategy number 1. I am certainly looking to play spreads because I think that these games will be very close and you can alternate these spreads. You can manipulate these spreads on Polymarket. And then number 2, I'm absolutely looking to exploit the goal market because to me, I would be very surprised to see a lot of 3-3 games throughout this knockout stage. A lot of these teams, and especially the lesser teams, are just going to be really parking the bus, trying not to sacrifice a goal, as opposed to, going full out attack. And then the counter attack is going to beat these lesser teams. These teams are going to definitely play defense. So that's strategy number 1, is definitely exploiting totals. Before we move on, also, I do want to give a shout. If you want to follow all of the action, so get all of my trades, get all of my team's trades across prediction markets, we are opening up the In the Money Discord just for $49 a month. Literally, probably one of the highest value per dollar ROI that you can get out there if you're joining a server, and especially for prediction markets. We're one of the first catered Polymarket and 𝗪𝗪 servers out there. You'll get all of my selections, strategies, etc. So check out inthemoney.live down below in the description. It's just $49 a month. We haven't even opened this yet. So you will be literally first in line. And we've been absolutely crushing this World Cup alongside some of the traders that will be joining me. So check out inthemoney.live down below. Number 2, another market that I'm certainly going to be taking a look at throughout this tournament is both teams to score. So now that we are in the knockouts, a lot of these teams, Yesterday we saw 3 different games. All 3 of them were both teams to score, and they were all 1-1 at certain points in time. So that caters to the unders, like we were talking about. But number 2, it caters to both teams scoring. And if I was to look across the board here, I could totally see Portugal, Croatia 1-1 at some point in time. I could even see Austria break the line and score against Spain. Bosnia and USA, maybe not. Bosnia's attack's not the best. But then again, they could absolutely break through. A match like Australia and Egypt, both teams to score, I absolutely could see that. Something like Switzerland and Algeria, maybe not. There will definitely be times like yesterday, both teams to score was money in the bank for Morocco game and especially for the Japan game. And I tweeted out yesterday, this was one of my picks. My favorite play yesterday was Brazil and Japan, both teams to score. And this one cashed by the beginning of the second half. So that's another market I'm definitely looking to exploit. So far we are going nose still against the lesser sides because even if they tie after regulation, it doesn't count for penalty kicks. So it's just regulation time plus stoppage. The extra added time, the 30-minute overtime period, does not count for these regulation plays. So yesterday, no Paraguay, no either Morocco or Netherlands paid out quite nicely. And today, people who are on nose against the Ivory Coast are already looking like that's going to be a pretty secure profit as long as this game holds, which there is 20 minutes left in this match. So nose against lesser sides, that still stands from the initial Polymarket profit video for the World Cup. Number 2 is goals, but more so I'm targeting unders in this tournament. I am not targeting overs. I think that a lot of these teams are going to be physical. They're going to be chippy. They're going to be playing defense. Number 3 is both teams to score. We've seen it every single match so far, other than this one, which I did not play both teams to score in this one as I am on the under 3.5 goals. But I do think both teams to score will be quite a nice selection throughout. And especially, like I said, looking at this bracket, I can see a ton of games lining up where it might be 2-1, 1-1 after regulation. Some of these games like France, Sweden could be 3 or 4-1. Like that's not one I'm going to take the under on personally. But this is where I'm finding value, especially after day 1 of the knockouts, but just seeing the way that these smaller teams are playing. I say smaller because Germany, Netherlands, Brazil, even the way that Japan was playing. And then watching right now how Ivory Coast is playing, they're playing very conservatively. They know they need to break through, but they also know they can't let Haaland beat them on the backside. And you're going to see a lot of that from these smaller teams throughout the rest of the tournament. So those are the 3 angles I'm really looking to exploit: is nose against the weaker side, also unders and manipulating that line to 2.5, 3.5, depending on the game and depending on the values. If I can get under 3.5s in some of these tightly contested matchups, at like the 70% range, that is an absolute play for me. Obviously, this is matchup dependent. You need to, do research, look at these teams, the matchup itself, etc. And then number 3 also is both teams to score in some of these very, very competitive matchups. We've seen every single side so far, other than this one, go both teams to score. So we'll see what happens here after today's matches. I do want to give a shout out as well. I know a lot of people, are looking to trade Polymarket and maybe don't have access to a ton of capital, but that changes now. You can actually get funded on Polymarket through Funding Predicts. I think it's one of the best values out there actually for a 10K challenge. So you pass this challenge, they'll give you $10,000 to trade with. For $72, you can use the link down below and get 20% off as well. If you trade and hit the target, they will fund your account with $10,000, and then you keep 90% of the profits. So you don't even have to risk your own capital. That was the platform I was showing you guys today on these markets, and I'm actively looking right now to get a 25K account funded. I'm in progress on that challenge as we speak. So that's the way I plan to profit in the group stages. And then, of course, last but not least, I would check out the Share app because you can see the most profitable traders. There are guys making millions of dollars on the World Cup right now, and you can literally get notified on their action. You can follow them, get push notifications to your phone, and then literally instantly copy trade them. So if you don't feel like you have an edge, there are smart traders on there, and you can follow my picks on there as well. I also put some of my action through the Share app. So I'll link down below Funding Predicts if you're looking to potentially get capital to trade with on Polymarket, and then also the Share app. But above else, it's been a very profitable World Cup so far, despite some of the shocking upsets in this last round and the draws in the group stage. But because we are more so exploiting the no's over the yeses, that's really balanced itself out, and we haven't been burnt too hard on those selections. So that's my strategy moving forward in the knockout stages. We're going to have some live streams for some games coming up as well. So guys, subscribe to the channel down below if you're new. We talk about Polymarket, investing, crypto every single week here on this channel, and like the video down below. It helps us get in front of more people who are prediction market, Polymarket enthusiasts just like yourself. I'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. As always, trade responsibly, my friends, and of course, stay bullish, my friends.